We're talking about here building through commitment, and God bless you.
Yeah.
You know, like it's amazing. They are out there and they're greeting people. You come in and it doesn't matter who you are. When I come in, a big smile and a hand out. You know, it's huge. It means a lot. You know, like I'm pastor of this church, it made me feel so welcome. It's great. And I really want to encourage all of us, when you come into CR, don't let anybody sit by themselves.
Yes.
No matter who they are, don't let them sit by themselves. It's huge, you know. So I was going to, I had this thing that I had written up here, and I thought, no, I'm not going to just go up there and just talk about the commitment thing. But I feel like I need to talk about a little bit of this. Very little bit of this, but, you know, like every area of what I want to really make sure I get across here is that every single area of ministry, we've heard about it all through this morning, that every area matters. What we're doing is just not meeting as a group, like Alcoholics Anonymous, the higher powers, a tree, or whatever you want to make it. What we're doing is eternal.
Yes.
Every single handshake, every single glass of water we give matters. And it's eternal. And it goes on forever and ever in a person's life. It's something that Jesus is going to use one day to say, I offered you a cup of water and you turned it down. Or I offered you a cup of water. Or they're going to say, Jesus, I saw you when that cup of water was handed to me.
Yes.
You know, when I saw a brother of mine going through incredible trial, and I went up to him, and I hadn't seen him in years. And I went up and I shook his hand, and he asked how the family was doing and stuff like that. And I thought, you know, it's amazing he can be thinking about anything outside of himself. He was so broken, going through such difficulty. And I never noticed it that night, but the next morning, and I'm kind of slow, I guess, because, you know, I can see these things after the fact. But the next morning, I'm laying in bed, and as my eyes are opening, as I'm waking up, you know, that seems to be when I hear God speak to me. And when I was opening my eyes, I seen His face, and I seen Jesus' eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And I just started bawling and crying, and it was just like, you know, it was just like it did. It moved me. Because it was Jesus I saw in Him, in His brokenness. And, you know, oftentimes in a believer's life when we're broken and we're humble and we got nothing left to do but stand, you know, with the Lord asking for His grace and His mercy, and that's what we see. If you really look, that's what you'll see, because everything else is stripped away at a time like that. And it is very hard for us. It hurts and nobody wants it, but it's not a bad thing to struggle as a believer, because no suffering, no struggle is in vain. You know, when we're going through those things in life. And God uses them. He says that when He brought the children of Israel out of Egypt, He caused them to be hungry, and He caused them to be thirsty. And He says it was so that He could speak to them.
Yeah.
You know, that's when we hear God's voice, when we're being humble, when our soul, our mind, and our will, and our emotion is being humbled. God speaks a little louder.
Yeah.
And it seems like when things are going so well, it's like we go with death to the things of the Spirit. It's amazing, and it's a good picture in the Old Testament of the children of Israel. When things are good, they just let loose in so many ways until they started to struggle, and then they cry out to God, and then they could see Him, they could hear Him, they come back to Him. It's just that we do the same thing. You know, so we need to recognize when we're doing good. You know, that's what fasting's all about. And anyways, let's talk about commitment. But I want, in all of that, everything we do is eternal. And we need to really recognize that the smallest task is eternal. The smallest task really matters because it's all a part of the plan of what God is doing in people's lives. We have no idea what we're doing when we're handing somebody a glass of water. It says we're going to get a prophet's reward if we hand a prophet a glass of water. We hand anybody a glass of water. There's a reward in that. And that's not why we do it, but there's a reward in it because it matters.
Yeah.
And so Jesus really wants to encourage us that all of these ministries, every single area matter. And it really grieves me when I see, because I've seen it in the past couple of years, where people get upset because they're asked to step aside, step over, and asked to do something else for ministry, it seems like it's not quite as important as the ministry they were doing, and they get offended and they get mad, and then they just stop and they leave. And I'm not saying just here, because I'm over several areas. But that's not a mindset that we can have as believers, because we're going to daily taking up our cross, denying ourselves and following Jesus. And that means it's not about me. And it's whatever God wants. Just to, like I was asked by Pastor Paul, it's really quite interesting. You always get tested in these things, asked to be the exec pastor here at Living Stones Church. And I don't know, when I started at the church, I just felt like he opened the door so wide, and I couldn't not go into the ministry, because I felt from the day I was saved at 19, I felt like God put a pastoral call on my heart in my life. And then, but yet, 22 years later, the opportunity comes up, and 22 years later, I didn't want to do it.
Wow.
Like, I wanted to do it when I was young, but then I thought, okay, talk to Karen, and we just felt like, no, now's not the time, and besides, the door wasn't open at the time. And then, so I just put it on the shelf and said, okay, Lord, I'll know. When you want me to do it, I'll do it. 22 years later, the door's open, and that's the last thing I wanted to do. But I felt like the door was so wide that I'd have to turn around, walk away from God to get her. And to get around that door, it was so wide. So I stepped through, but I stepped through with an attitude, okay, God, if you want me in ministry, you're going to have to make it happen, because I'm not going to do nothing. What an attitude. And so it was a struggle. It was a real struggle, because my thinking didn't line up all the time with the thinking of the church and the direction of the church. And so you have your own thinking, and you have expectations, and when they're not met, then you fight and you struggle inside. And anytime all of a sudden, as this time's going on, God's sort of beating me and slapping me and loving on me and just keeping me going. And in time, He changes us, and He helps us to mature. And He got me to the place, and I don't even know how or when, but to the place where it just doesn't matter anymore. Because it didn't matter then, and it still doesn't matter. So I was asked to be the exec pastor of the church, and then just before I was going on holidays here, Pastor Paul asked me to come in, and he said that they were looking at somebody from out east. But I also told Pastor Paul, I said, Pastor Paul, I said, I'm willing to serve in this area. I said, I know that I can do it, because it's a lot of what I have done through my life. In managing and all that kind of stuff with people, ministries. But I says, if you find somebody else that you maybe feel like might be better in that position, or maybe, you just feel like you'd rather have that person. I said, even if I am placed in as the exec pastor, that's okay with me. I'm all right with that. And I've always told him over the years, I said, Paul, if I'm ever in a place where you feel like maybe my position's not needed now, I want you to know that I'm not hanging on to this ministry. That I'm willing for you to say, I think it's time for you to step aside. We've got somebody else we want to put in there.
Wow.
That I would be willing to do that. I said, before God, don't ever feel like that I'm here and I shouldn't be. Be honest with me. And I said, I'll be honest with you. And then so this exec thing comes up, and then he says that about this person out east. Of course, our flesh gets hurt, because you're thinking, I'm sort of thinking, okay, yeah, I want to do that, but not really. Well, but Lord, I just want your will to be done. Not my will, but your will. Yeah. And so when he said that, at first you think, really? But then you think, that might be all right. That's okay. And it's so good to be in life with your hands like this. With whatever God gives us, to have our hands open and let Him take it and let Him give it.
Yes.
Because sometimes we're not even willing to take it. We don't want it. We need to be willing to take it. And we need to be willing to let it go and let God move us where He wants us. And let His will be done in our lives. Because there's far less hurt in life when we have our hands open.
Wow.
That's right.
And, the hurt comes when we're clenching so hard and then pry your hands open and take this stuff away, or it's knocked out of your hand. And it's so disappointing. But we're to set our minds on the things above, not on the things of the earth. And so I guess if we talk about commitment, I'm not going to talk about any of that. We talk about commitment. We're committed to Christ.
Yes.
We're committed to His will, not ours.
Wow.
Yes.
And, He gives and He takes away. And we've got to be so willing to not be so anxious to take and to get. We should be just as anxious to let it go. We don't know what's around the corner.
That's right.
We just don't know. And God has nothing but good in mind for us.
That's right.
And, we have to have the mindset, okay, my thing in life is to deny myself, to take up my cross and follow Him. So we live a sacrificed life in Romans chapter 12. Not conforming to the patterns of this world, but having our mindset on things above. So we need to be committed to Christ first. And all the areas of ministry in this Celebrate Recovery need commitment.
Wow.
Yes. We have a lot of leadership meetings, and not many people come to the leadership meetings. And we need to have everybody come to the leadership meetings, because in the leadership meetings we organize and we delegate and we train. We need everybody there, and like God has a call on each one of our lives to do something in the area of ministry. The church used to be that the pastor would be up front and everybody would come to church on Sunday and go home and go to work and do whatever they do and come to church on Sunday, and that was it. Not anymore. The church are you. And a pastor's job is to equip the saints to do the work.
Yeah.
And at the leadership meetings, that's what we need. We need people to equip. And as more leaders we get there, I believe that spreads out, because I think that more people are going to come, because things are going to be not only just run well, but it just somehow it works that way.
Yes.
The more leaders, the more people come in to lead and to serve. And and the big thing about leadership is work yourself out of a job.
Yeah.
Delegate.
So good.
Equip the saints to do the work. And so we need commitment. Amen.
Yeah.